let's take a look at our topic for today, which is how to move some of the data from SABER, which is the Single Automated Business Exchange for Reporting, into ArcGIS and other applications. And after doing that first part in a couple of different ways, we're then going to take a look at the Clearinghouse source of data and bring that in and point out a couple of gaps that exist with the Clearinghouse right now that somebody ought to be standing up to fill. So I have put together this little one-pager here on how to bring SABER and Clearinghouse data in. And we're going to start out with the simplest way, if you have an ArcGIS Online. Not everybody has that, which is why the Clearinghouse Interoperability project has existed for the last several years. And what we have is a number of different sources of information. We'll deal with these SABER sources first. And feel free to jump in if you're on the webinar and raise your hand. I'm supposed to be able to see that you've raised your hand, or there's a little question mark. You can ask a question. Those of you who are on the phone may be able to talk to me directly. If not, raise your hand and I'll turn on your phone. But feel free to ask any questions as we go along. But I will try to run through this. And we're going to begin in the first fashion here with the ArcGIS Online feature service, which is created from GeoJSON coming out of Exchange Core, which serves as the host for both SABER information and Clearinghouse information. And we'll look at each one of these separately. But it's got to be hosted someplace. A ArcGIS Online feature service doesn't come magically. You can take this GeoJSON data that comes out and turn it into a feature service, but somebody has to do that and has to provide it on ArcGIS Online. Well, the Central United States Earthquake Consortium is currently doing that as a service to the SABER community. And to get to that, it's the same way you do everything else that's inside of ArcGIS. I want to come up here and I've created this Clearinghouse training map, and I want to search for layers. This first choice there. I'm going to come in here, and I don't want to search in my content. I want to come out and look at other things, favorites, groups, all the other stuff, and I want to go out to ArcGIS Online, because that's where you're going to find what has been served up by the Central United States Earthquake Consortium. So we want to look for a SABER data, and I'm going to search for that, and we're going to discover that a few folks have been dealing with SABER. Eric Shreve out in Arizona did some SABER work. Here's the county SABER status that was done in earthquakes last year. The one we're looking for, as it says here, the private sector status was updated today, is right here, and I simply click on it, and I get the description of this as the point data sets representing SABER for business status during disasters. Data is updated every 30 minutes, and want to come down here and add this to the map. So what we're going to find, closing that up, is SABER information in this dotted context. And SABER has a couple of things going on under a steady state condition. Every state has a SABER connectivity verification, so that when I'm out there doing testing, there's something that's always up there. So there's one of these for California, and actually San Diego County, which also is an independent member of SABER. But what I did earlier today, anticipating this discussion, was I came into Northern California from one of our earlier exercises and pulled Costco information. Here we see a Costco in Woodland that's closed as a result of some activity that's been taking place over there in Northern California. There's Novato, Rohnert Park, and Richmond. That quickly, I now have this set of SABER data that is being updated every 30 minutes because of the Central United States Earthquake Consortium. They are taking it, hosting it, providing it out as an open service into ArcGIS Online, and bingo, you get the data from everybody around. There's Nevada's verification. So that's simply all of this business status information. And I should note, SABER just passed 100,000 locations across the country from our member states. And I believe by the time we get to the big national level exercise at the end of May, we're going to be well over 200 or 150,000 locations across the country. You can see these, they're just Costco's. We've got Costco, Macy's, Lowe's, Sears, Kmart, gas stations, you name it. So when the whole list in California comes out, it's a pretty good source of information. That available. And somebody help me to remember to keep saving this thing, because I don't save it, everything magically disappears. All right, so that's one way to bring the SABER data in. And again, SABER private sector status, turn it off and on. And because it is a feature layer, you get all sorts of other good things that you can do with it. I can come down here and I can get a table of all that information. And can I move this? Yeah, let's move this up a little bit. So there's a Cal State or a Costco in Chico. It's closed right now. From Montana has a pending SABER status, and whatever information might be in here becomes available to you. And yeah, there are a couple other things that didn't show up here. They're part of Costco. Here's some good Costco's. Do we have more information over there? No. Okay. So ArcGIS is doing something. There are more columns in the Costco information. ArcGIS must be finding only those that are common to every single piece of data, which is not the way JSON works. So there's some restriction here that I'm now discovering, just looking at this. But you can come in here, you can change the icons you want to, you can do all the things that you're familiar with. Legend, we don't want that. Where was that other? Where's the analysis stuff? There, there's the analysis things. So if I want to come in here and analyze patterns in here and calculate, find some hotspots, for example, I'm going to call that point counts, fishnet grid, divide by nothing, call it that. I'll run the analysis. And oh, we're still spinning around up there. And let's see whether we can get some hotspots on this being produced. So while we're doing that, let me require a minimum of 60 points. Okay, good news for those of you who are looking for hotspots. You now know you can't do that with fewer than 60 points. So we'll do that at another time. You can also, if you want to host this information, this is the raw feature service feed that is coming out of the QSEC service. So this feed, as I understand it, has certain things that are already selected. This is the raw data feed coming out of here from which you can build your own set of feature services and analysis. Those of you who know more about ArcGIS Online, jump in towards the end and you can explain what the difference of those might be. But there are other ways to get the information out and other applications that use them. I'm going to do this one just to start with right here as an illustration. And it is the same data, and it's going to come by here. Yes, there we go. It's automatically opened the Google map, and we now have that same information of all those Costco's and other components sitting there, same data associated with them. When you pull out the pop-up, same things that we saw on ArcGIS Online, but because it's a different format, we can produce it and use it inside of Google Earth. So one of the other advantages of the way that we're dealing with this information. when I do click on this service thing, I get this ArcGIS Online description. So if you want to use that second field, you can learn a little bit more about the point data that's in here from this. And again, I apologize for not knowing exactly what it's called, but it's basically the details page for the feature service. All right, so we took a look at that, and let's come in here and let's grab this RSS feed because it's a different way of taking a look at the information. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add that layer from the web. I'm going to find that RSS. I'm going to paste this in here, add that layer, and now I've got the little RSS symbol that comes up that represents each one of those. Now, what's the difference between these two? Because the one coming out of QSEC is processed, served up as a feature service, let's just say ArcGIS prefers that you not do that live. So this is produced and updated every 30 minutes, I think is what you saw it was said. So it's 30 minutes old. You've got some information that just happened. This RSS feed that comes in is instantaneous. As soon as it is created and hits Exchange Core, it's available here. Again, exactly the same information that you saw earlier. So different reasons for doing this kind of thing. I can still go in and change symbols. So if I don't want that funny RSS symbol there, I can pick up one of these purple dots there, let's call them that, and end up with that. So different reason for using data in different ways. Instantaneous access through the RSS feed, but less flexibility. And in the feature service, you get all the beauty that's available from ArcGIS Online to do the type of analysis and probing of the information that I showed you before. So that's tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause here. I got through that in a reasonably quick period of time, but I want to pause, make sure that if there are any questions, I see.
Yeah, hey, all those Costco's, it says they're closed. Obviously, they're not closed. So what's the reason for all that that information? Is it just incomplete?
That was from an exercise that we did with you guys 2 or 3 years ago, and I just pulled it off as an illustration of what we're what you can do. On SABER itself, when it activates, you only see the closed stores that are truly closed and closed by the companies that they represent. So right now, demo purposes only.
Copy that. Thank you. Could you send over that cheat sheet unless you already sent it?
I have not. Literally finished it up this afternoon when I discovered Phil wasn't going to be doing this. So I will make this available to everybody. So then let's go down to the clearinghouse because this is a very important piece. I'm going to share with you a couple of things. One of them is that same data is available, but it is available only in this this format, which is the GeoJSON format. GeoJSON needs to be processed into a feature service by ArcGIS. We have, for SABER, we have the, as I mentioned, Central United States Earthquake Consortium is serving that up for the SABER community. Nobody's hosting that for the clearinghouse yet. All the software is there, thanks to Eric Shreve of the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs and Robbie Bagby of the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. All the software that's being used by QSEC to serve it out is available on the SABER Exchange Core GitHub site. And there's a complete description of it in our guide to working with SABER status data. But right now, the only way to get the data into ArcGIS Online is to take a GeoJSON, download it as a file, upload it as a handmade feature service inside of ArcGIS Online, and know that you're immediately out of date. So we need somebody for, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, what does, this is Ann at FEMA, what resources are needed to host it? Because I'm actually going to be meeting with CUSIC, the CUSIC person's counterpart at WISPIC next week. So if it's, since they're essentially the same type of consortia, I'm wondering if CUSIC has it, then I'm wondering if it's something that WISPIC has, and maybe I can bring it up with them when I talk to them next week.
Any of the agencies that are on the phone in your ID department, they certainly have the capacity to load these two pieces of software onto your computers and then connect them to the ArcGIS Online, which then publicly hosts that clearinghouse information. So it's not a difficult process. Since we already have the software, I'm going to bet that it was 6 hours of somebody's time from CUSIC, but they have the computers, they have the server, they have the network, they're connected to an ArcGIS, and they can expose that ArcGIS feature service to the outside world, thus making it public. So it's a little bit of politics, a little bit of technology.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure. Did want to do one thing, though, just to illustrate. Well, we got a couple minutes left, and feel free to jump in with other questions. This is the data that comes from the clearinghouse. What we can do is bring it in as a RSS feed. I'm going to add that layer, and let's turn. We got a couple things that are happening here. Again, simulated information, but we've got some heavy equipment that's needed. We've got multi-house fire over there. These are probably stores. Yeah, there's a Costco that's out. There's a Costco that's out. So you're starting to see that two types of, actually, let me turn that off. So now we got two different layers here. You've got the clearinghouse layer, and you've got the SABER layer. So you're starting to see the way that the information gets integrated together to be able to see these multiple layers of information. And while you're thinking whether you have any other questions, just to show you what life actually looks like. And I've got a SpotOnResponse, the Clearinghouse mobile app, that I'm going to come in here. We're going to say that we have a utility incident that's there, and electrical out at mall, or some such thing. I'd describe that there is no light, and let's call it sufficient there. Save that change. And now what we've got over on SpotOnResponse, everybody who's on SpotOnResponse now has that electrical outage at the mall. And within a couple of minutes, it's going to cycle through. So we've got that stuff, and that was someplace down in here in San Jose. We're going to see that other one. But let me just refresh that. And let's see whether we can pick up anything that quickly. Yes, that may be it. Yep, electric out at the mall. So there's the advantage of having the instantaneous link through a GeoRSS feed. I've got the SABER coming in as a feature service that I can do lots of information to. You see the complete integration between a SpotOnResponse sitting out here, somebody having it in their hand, seeing a fire in the mall, and within, what was that, 90 seconds? That was fast, because it does cycle through in about 3-minute intervals, but when you're syncing, you may get a quick one. But 90 seconds, you're able to see what they're seeing out in the field, and where there are photographs attached to this or anything else, you'd be able to pull those up right inside of ArcGIS Online. So let me stop there. You've now seen the SABER information getting in as layers for both analysis and instantaneous viewing. You've got the clearinghouse layers and various information that you can put onto your ArcGIS, matching it up with anything else that's inside of ArcGIS. And then you've got your field data reporting tool and SpotOnResponse that allows you to go off and do just about anything else that you would want to do in the field and share that back into the ArcGIS. Well, hopefully you got a little bit of flavor of the capabilities of the data and the ease with which they move around. And next week, or 2 weeks from now, we're going to focus a little bit more on the field data collection. There's a new version of SpotOnResponse that's out there that lets you do some, I think, pretty spectacular things. And since there are 450-some people who are members of this call in the Clearinghouse, and about 225 have an access to SpotOnResponse, we ought to start making everybody aware of that information so that if something happens, you all have the tool set that's available to you.